Morning, guys. Hi, it's Rob back again for another video. Um, yeah, um, I actually passed, or I've reached 100 subs. Way, um, which I should have mentioned yesterday on my fines video, but I completely forgot. Um, but yeah, I mean, what can I say? I'm delighted. When I started making these videos at the beginning of the year, I had no idea um, who would watch, who'd be interested in, what I'd be doing, my videos. There's so many people that make videos and such excellent content. It was quite overwhelming, but inspiring at the same time. And I suppose, I think it was Dan from Dots and Loops once said that, it doesn't matter how many times he sees, say, something like Fleetwood Mac rumours being shown. I guess the point is that everybody has their own spin on that and can say something unique. So, and I thought that was, that was um, that was very positive and on the money really. So yeah, but anyway, so I thought what I'd do is I'd just maybe start a bit of a thread if anybody's interested on jumping on this. Something I've thought about for a little while. What is it? Well, what it is that it's songs or albums that are either inspired by, excuse me, I've still got a bit of a bad throat. So songs or albums that are either inspired by or are based on famous works of fiction or literature. So obviously that can be books, poems, etc. Fairly broad, I guess. And I haven't actually got that many to show, but I thought it'd just be interesting. I don't think it's a theme that anybody's done previously on the VC, or certainly if they have, it's eluded me. I haven't seen it. But maybe perhaps it's been done at some stage, and apologies if it's repeating, but anyway, so there it is. So I thought, I thought about it, and I say I've got a few here to show, and maybe of interest to some people. Thought I'd give it a go anyway. So, okay, so the first one I'd like to show, probably quite an obvious one here, is Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds. Obviously based loosely on the H.G. Wells novel. There seems to be quite a sort of resurgence of interest in War of the Worlds with the stage productions. My sister went down to London and saw one last year, a new version of it, because she's always been a fan of this record. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting from the point of view that it is based on the novel. As I said before, obviously quite loosely based. But I mean, the record itself is it's terrifying to be honest. I know James Griffiths talked at some length about this in one of his videos, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but suffice it to say I first heard this when this came out, probably not long after it had been released, maybe 79, something like that. And my mate's dad had it, and he was playing it, and I mean, it was just the sound effects on it, and the just the atmospheres and the red weed, and just the sort of this the apocalyptic kind of stuff, subject matter, and it was compelling for an 11-year-old at the time. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of scared me and intrigued me in sort of equal measure ever since. I did actually read the novel when I was at school. I had to do in my English literature, I had to do a piece on science fiction authors, and two that I picked was Isaac Asimov and H.G. Wells. So obviously, I did read the novel, and yeah, I mean, this really doesn't bear that much resemblance to the original novel, although I suppose it keeps the spirit of it. But nonetheless, it certainly remains a fine piece of work from Jeff Wayne, and yeah, it's clearly stood the test of time. 40 years later, it's still selling by the bucket load, and perhaps for good reason. So, but yeah, that's my first one, and that's Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. Okay, the next one is probably one of the first prog albums I probably ever bought, and I've seen this shown a number of times on the VC. This is Bo Hansen's music inspired by Lord of the Rings, J.R. Tolkien, of course. Yeah, this I'd never heard of Bo Hansen. Obviously, I'd read The Hobbit and I think the first book, Fellowship of the Ring, again when I was at school. As probably a lot of you have and continue to read and so on, because it's a very popular work of fiction, isn't it? Yeah, I saw this in a record shop and it was about £3 or £4. It was pretty cheap. I know it goes for a bit more than that now. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I suppose listening to the music, I mean, Bo Hansen, he's a Swedish organist. And he's done several albums which are very atmospheric, sort of jazz proggy kind of feel, long pieces, long tracks. I think it was originally issued in Sweden in the late 1970 under the Swedish title of Sagan om ringen. That's probably dreadful Swedish pronunciation. So, but was subsequently re-released internationally as music inspired by Lord of the Rings in September 1972 on the wonderful Charisma Mad Hatter label. Yeah, so but yeah, it's again, it's an atmospheric piece of work, and he clearly felt inspired enough from reading the works to come out with a piece of work like this, and it's really enjoyable. I've always liked this, all instrumental, of course, but yeah, that's a nice one. That's music inspired by Lord of the Rings by Bo Hansen. Okay, the next one's probably quite an obvious one. This is, of course, Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte, of course. This is Kate Bush's inspired song from that novel, of course, Wuthering Heights. Beautiful, wonderful, evocative pop. Probably one of the greatest pop songs of the 70s, to be honest. I mean, my brother and I talk about this regularly as just being absolutely just a seminal piece of work. And apparently she was inspired after seeing the 1967 BBC adaptation of the novel. And she read the book first and then discovered that she subsequently read the book, so she read the book after seeing the adaptation. And then she realized that she shared the same birthday with Emily Bronte. So, from a sort of sort of empathy point of view and feeling connected to the book and the author, you know, must have made it even more, felt even more inspired from that point of view. So yeah, but interesting note in terms of the release of the song was that the company originally chose EMI. They wanted to release James and the Cold Gun as the lead single, but Kate Bush, you know, dug her heels in and said, no, I definitely want Wuthering Heights. That's the one that I feel is going to be the biggest hit. It's going to make the biggest impact. And it was initially scheduled to be released for the 4th of November, 1977, but she was unhappy with the cover, insisted that it was going to be replaced. But some of the singles had already been issued out to radio stations, and in the end EMI relented and put the singles launch back until the new year, which was fortuitous because it would have, sales probably would have been impacted because of the release in sort of, you know, latter part of that year of Mull of Kintyre, which was a huge hit for Wings and sort of dominated the charts for, I think it was #1 for about 9 weeks. And it was the biggest single in UK history up to that point. So everything sort of worked out, you know, in her favour from that point of view. But sorry, I've gone miles off the original subject here, flying off on a tangent. But yeah, so that's my other choice, which is Emily Bronte, and that's Kate Bush's song Wuthering Heights. Okay. Next one is this one, which is Renaissance's album Scheherazade. This is called Scheherazade and Other Stories. This was their 75 release. And again, based on the original stories, folk tales compiled during the what Wikipedia refer to as the Islamic Golden Age. So, you know, I think it was the Princess Scheherazade, wasn't it? She was scheduled to be executed, and it was a way of delaying her execution, I think, by you know, telling tales of you know, stories, and which became the Arabian Nights, okay, which was, as it was known in English, I think from 1704, I think, when they were translated into English. So yeah, I'm not that familiar with a lot of the Arabian Nights, so I don't know whether this is you know, with the lyrics and so on. I guess that's based on those stories. But yeah, interesting. It's a nice album anyway. I like Renaissance, and you know, I like the orchestral arrangements, and Annie Haslam's voice is beautiful and always enjoyable. So yeah, the classical version of this, obviously Rimsky-Korsakov, was a real favourite of my father's, actually, and did actually play that at his funeral during the ceremony, which was poignant. So, but yeah, that's Renaissance Scheherazade and Other Stories, based on the Arabian Nights folktales. Okay, and the last one is the one I actually picked up yesterday. This is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, of course, based on Lewis Carroll's stories and Alice Through the Looking Glass and so on. Yeah, a huge, obviously, inspiration to the late 60s counterculture. You know, yeah, so this is this is actually a soundtrack to the movie, which was, I think, a UK film that came out in the early 70s. This is from 1972. Yeah, looking forward to giving that a spin. So I haven't actually played that yet. So, but hopefully that should be an interesting one. But yeah, anyway, that's just quite a brief video. Just really to, as I say, it was a sort of bit of a celebration in inverted commas of me reaching my 100 subs, which I can't believe, I mean, I've not even been in the VC for 2 months, and I'm amazed and very, very grateful. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel and continues to watch, comment, and you're all very, very kind, because, I don't know whether I do anything particularly special. I just sit here, press the button and ramble on. So, but yeah, thanks guys. And as I say, anybody who wants to jump on this thread, be my guest. I'd be interested to hear your contributions, see what albums you've got. So it's songs or albums either inspired by or are based on famous works of fiction or literature. Anyway, cheers guys, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you all again very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.